All right, folks, today we're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 again, and it's because we have some stuff coming in about that supposed leaked black market Nintendo Switch 2 and how much the person paid to actually get their hands on it, suggesting how much, if you guys are looking on the black market to buy a Switch 2 early, how much you would have to pay. And it turns out it wasn't just the system. We now learned it also included the dock. And the person was even talking briefly about the brand new Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller and possibly being able to purchase that as well. Unfortunately, there's no new leaked images of the actual system in this yet. That still could happen, of course, if this person actually did pay this. I'm going to call it an abhorrent. It's once you see the price, it's absolutely insane. But if they did pay that, yeah, I can understand why maybe they're keeping things a little close to the chest as they are trying to make some of this money back via accessory makers. So I actually starts to make the full picture make more sense on why they're not just posted a bunch of images publicly of it, because there's actually an inherent value here to save it for the accessory makers. That being said, it would be cool if the person did end up purchasing the Switch 2 Pro Controller, because we haven't seen anything on that yet. I would love maybe for an image or two of that to get out there someday. Of course, we could just wait till April 2nd, when we're going to see it anyways officially from Nintendo. At least I assume we're going to see the new Pro Controller then. That being said, we also have some comments from developers at Capcom and those working at Capcom or working with Capcom on Nintendo Switch 2. They were asked about some stuff, and we learned something really interesting, including someone stating, I think, something that's going to resonate with a lot of you guys on what they wish for Nintendo to do on Switch 2. And they have to use like the term wish or want because Capcom naturally has dev kits, so they got to be really careful about the things they say. That being said, folks, I am Nathaniel Rebelljets from Nintendo Prime. If you're enjoying this video and you want to stay up to date on Switch 2 and all future Nintendo stuff, yes, folks, I know every day is like Switch 2 rumors and quotes and all that. I understand, but hey, once we get to April 2nd and beyond, we'll have actual game news to be talking about, and that's going to obviously really dominate the channel once we get into the games, which, again, Nintendo's keeping behind closed doors until April. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in on this. This comes from the Nintendo Switch 2 subreddit, and it's pretty interesting. Obviously, they call it rumor and hearsay. Take all this with a grain of salt, but these are images posted by the person who claims to have purchased the Nintendo Switch 2 off of the black market. And to provide evidence, since they don't want to post images of the system, they went ahead and provided DMs with the person they bought it from. So Chinese cab model leaker shows a screenshot of his DMs with a black market seller saying the prices for the Switch 2 dock, Joy-Cons, and tablet, so the whole kit and caboodle, will cost him $39,780. And I am not exaggerating. That's USD. That's what it converts to. So if the person actually bought the Switch 2, they will have spent essentially $40,000. Holy crap. I don't know about you. I don't have a spare $40K just sitting in the bank. Maybe you do. Maybe you are that well off that you could just yank $40,000 out of your bank. I know I couldn't. And even if you could you really justify it just to get your hands on a Switch 2 console early that doesn't even have an operating system and thus can't even be used to play video games? Like, can you really justify that? Well, we'll talk about how maybe this person might be justifying it in a moment. We got to look at the evidence. So these are the supposed DMs, and it's been obviously translated here. This stuff was obviously originally in Chinese. It says, okay, got it. Some of the conversations blurred out. Switch 2 Pro in stock next week. Interested in pre-ordering. They're talking about the Pro Controller. As it says Pro Controller, the guy says, do you have a real Switch 2 base and console? Can I test it, or how much can I use it for? And he says, yes, 6 watt for the base, 23 watt for the joystick plus main unit. I don't know if that's watt. I guess W. We should just stick with this. Is probably a currency thing. So 6W for the base, 23W for the joystick and main unit. Do you have a picture of the base? So that's really good. Obviously, if you're gonna spend $40,000, you're gonna want evidence, right? You're gonna want to have proof the seller actually has the damn thing. It's a pretty good ask if you're gonna spend that kind of money. So you asked for a picture. Things are blurred out. Switch 2 Pro. Okay, this is like, the thing that was translated. So now we get over to some stuff at Family Boards, and there's some links there as well. And it says the person who leaked the CAD models and claimed to have a real Switch 2 unit posted a chat screenshot with a black market seller. The seller says Pro controllers will be available next week. So yeah, cool, next week. He might be able to buy one. The seller says Pro controllers will be available next week, and the price for the dock is 60K RMB, which is 8,230 USD, and the price for the tablet and Joy-Cons is 230K RMB or 31,550 USD. Says, I haven't been keeping up with this, so the person's activity apart from the earlier CAD leaks. Do you believe they have a unit? And Kyson here says, I don't think he has any reason to deceive others. He has always been selling CAD models of electronic devices to accessory makers on that place. I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to try to. This time, he claimed to have a real Switch 2 because he's selling the opportunity to test accessories on a real unit at his place. So what is being stated here is the person who potentially bought this does provide CAD renders of unreleased electronics to accessory makers, and the Switch 2 wasn't the first time they did it. So those CAD models that got out there, some of which we've seen, this is what this person does. It might even just be their job, where they get early renders of all these electronic devices and sell them to accessory makers, and that could just be what they do for a living. So the Switch 2 just being the latest thing that they're targeting. So when you talk about, hey, would this person really spend $40,000 to get their hands on the real thing, even though they already had CAD models? The answer is probably yes. And that is because if this is what this person does, where they sell useful things to accessory makers, there is some money to be made here for him. He might actually come ahead because he's worked with all these accessory makers in the past to sell CAD models so they can help make accessories. Now we can sell access to an actual physical Nintendo Switch 2 to test fit those accessories and make sure they actually work and function with the system. So he could end up making more than $40,000. I mean, if you're going to spend $40,000, yeah, he could end up making more than that doing this. Now, each individual accessory maker isn't going to sit there and pay him $40K to have access to it, because if that was the case, they could just go on the black market and buy it themselves. But let's say you have a dozen accessory makers and you're charging $5,000 per one to have direct access to the unit for a day or two. Next thing you know, that's $60,000 US, and you just came ahead $20,000. So again, that's what I'm saying. If this person, actually bought it, they could end up coming ahead, depending on how much fervor there is from these third-party accessory makers to verify their products that they're making with actual Nintendo Switch 2 units. And since all these accessories, even from like D-Brand and others, are actually made in China, it's not like the system would have to be shipped to D-Brand in the US, then shipped over here, shipped over there. The person just has to live around the area where this stuff is being made, and they can just meet with local management at these factories once he works out the deals and the money's cleared. He could just go in person and let them physically test it. He doesn't even have to necessarily ship it if he actually lives by it. So this could actually end up working out pretty big. Obviously, we want to see actual images as proof, but you can understand if the guy paid $40,000, clearly there's a lot of value behind this, and he's not going to leak images of his own purchase except to the manufacturers who would spend money on it. So we'll have to see what happens, if anything, from this, or if we learn anything else. I'm obviously more interested in if the guy ends up buying the Pro controller. I don't know that there's a lot of advantages for third-party accessory makers for the Pro controller, but maybe if it has a headphone jack, maybe there's something for the ones that make the headphones and the headsets. Maybe they'd want to just make sure, although I don't really know. I guess if it has Bluetooth functionality, you could test it on a current Switch or something else, but I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that because we don't really know what's going on with any of it, but pretty crazy. Now, I mentioned that Capcom was talking about Nintendo Switch 2, and we know this because of Nintendo Life's article over here. So it says Hideki Kamiya. Wait, Hideki Kamiya? I thought you said Capcom. Well, we'll get into it here. Wants Nintendo to reboot Virtual Console for Switch 2. Guys, we have NSO. There's no way in hell Virtual Console is coming back where you could purchase individual games and then you own them. But, Hideki Kamiya is saying, bunk that, bring it back for Switch 2. So let's go into the statements here. So before Nintendo Switch Online, there was Virtual Console available on the Wii, 3DS, and Wii U. The Virtual Console was effectively a line of purchasable retro games available via the Wii Shop channel and eShop. Unlike Nintendo Switch Online, which offers up a range of playable games for an annual or monthly cost, Virtual Console allowed you to pay for games ad hoc, enabling you to download whichever title you wanted and keep it indefinitely. While we certainly love that Nintendo has been doing with Nintendo Switch Online over the years, it's no secret that lots of fans would rather the firm revert back to the Virtual Console model. One such individual who seemingly misses the Virtual Console is none other than Hideki Kamiya, creator of Okami and Bayonetta, who expressed his desire for Nintendo to reboot the service when asked about the upcoming Switch 2 by IGN. That's right, there was an IGN interview. Also present was Capcom producer Yoshiaki Hirabayashi, who remained predictably coy in regards to the Switch 2. So obviously this interview was about Okami 2. Capcom is involved in the development of Okami 2, as is obviously the series creator. So yeah, obviously IGN was going to ask the question they expected no real response to, and that is, well, speaking of new technologies, do any of you have any opinions on the Nintendo Switch 2? So just asking for opinions. Obviously, here's the guy from Capcom, Hirabayashi, who says, this is something that we really can't comment on from Capcom's side at all. Because, yeah, it's about the Nintendo Switch 2. Anything that comes out from Nintendo. I mean, this is basically, we're Capcom. We didn't make the Switch 2. You want an opinion? I can't give you an opinion. Why? Because Capcom has Switch 2 dev kits, and they're under NDA. I mean, it's kind of like how direct he is. He's like, we can't comment on this, period. One, we didn't make it. Two, I know it's just an opinion, but my opinion is going to be, look, Capcom has Switch 2. like, what are we doing here? Like, Capcom isn't going to be able to answer that question seriously because he can't give an opinion because an opinion is based on direct knowledge, right? But maybe Hideki Kamiya hasn't touched the Switch 2 because Hideki Kamiya decided to give an opinion. Now, I want to note here that the opinion he gave, you wouldn't learn from hands-on with Switch 2 anyways, so this might be more of a plea than an opinion. Here's what Hideki Kamiya had to say. As a personal comment, again, getting away from anything he might know directly, I personally would love to see the Virtual Console rebooted. That's something that I would really want to ask Nintendo for. Now, again, this is extremely unlikely. NSO and its subscription service, like, it's a big selling point. Highly doubt that Nintendo would ever go back to offer ad hoc Virtual Console. But obviously, you know, if Kamiya has any direct knowledge because he has a dev kit that he's working on Okami 2 with or something like that, naturally, Kamiya went second after Capcom's guy was like, you know, what do you expect? We can't talk about this shit. Then Kamiya's like, hey, look, let's just go personal with something that I wouldn't know from a dev kit anyways, and that is, I really want Virtual Console rebooted. So you can always rely on Kamiya to give not your atypical response to these sort of questions. The politically correct response is what Capcom's guy said, where, hey, talk to Nintendo. We can't talk about this. But Kamiya's like, hey, all right. Even if I know things, it don't matter. Let's talk about something I don't know and I really want. So credit to Kamiya for always putting his thoughts out there, the good and the bad. The guy, if you don't follow Hideki Kamiya, creator of Bayonetta, Wonderful 101, you know, and so many others, Okami, and obviously he left Platinum Games. He's very abrasive, not afraid to speak his mind. He'll cuss to fans. He'll ban and block people on social media after going on like rant fest against them. The guy comes off a little bit unhinged, but is a creative genius. So maybe for him, this is all part of the creative process. But in this interview, he acted fairly professionally, as he is going to do when people are going to be just interviewing and talking about his game and what it means to bring Okami back. I'll link to the full IGN interview if you guys want to follow all that. Obviously, it doesn't really relate specifically to Nintendo at the moment, since Okami 2 is not announced for a Nintendo platform. Probably will change after April 2nd. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for being here. I am Nathaniel Rufflejans from Nintendo Prime, and as always, I'll catch each and one of you in the next video.